Welcome back to Straight Facts. It's Friday. It's a little later than usual today, but it's fine. It's a beautiful Friday evening. We're on the edge of the knockout stages of the Euros. We're going to be debating that and predicting the round of 16 results, talking about England's camp. We're going to look at some deals involving Arsenal, Manchester United, Chelsea. Anything else you guys want us to speak about? Of course, member chats we prioritize as best we can. Super chats, we'll go through them all. Brilliant Friday panel as ever. Man like Lawless is here with us. Staffy is in the house as well. How are you, gentlemen?
I have a story to tell. The reason we're late today, Lawless was trying to get out of the show again. And we tried to work out a time where we can find him. And he said he can only do 1 o'clock. I moved everything, around that. Terry moved everything around that. And Lawless, I told you, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. We have to talk about England.
Staffy, this is a UK show, yeah. It's 6 o'clock. We're 6:15 now, yeah. You're on.
Well, it's 1 o'clock my time. That's why I said it like that.
Yeah. You're in the UK show, mate. You're in the UK right now. So I'm ready. I'm here, mate. I'm here. Say, listen.
Lawless made up a lie today. I like to work out of town. I'm gonna be late, guys. I don't suppose we can move it. Yeah, it's okay. We can cancel it this week if you want. Yeah. Then we're late going live because he comes in. Oh, guys, my camera's not working. And we're like, oh, come on now.
I was hoping you'd go, just sit this one out, mate. Just sit.
We know them tricks. Lots to delve into today. I wanted to start off with Manchester United, Staffy, because we're going to talk about some of the transfers in a minute. But I really wanted to get your take on this week, which has been interesting because the new ownership, the new football decision makers, clearly taking charge, a new deal for the manager incoming, which is believed to be a reforming of his job, head coach, a lot of responsibilities taken away, he's sort of power in the transfer window taken away, his coaching staff is being removed, and the club is bringing in people that they feel are going to get the best out of him and the best out of the group of players. What do you as a United fan make of this last sort of 24, 48 hours for Man United? There's been lots of news.
I spent some time thinking about it yesterday. I have to put my emotions to the side that I don't want Ten Hag, and I'll try to speak objective. He is here, unfortunately, so I have to deal with it as it is. But when you look at the appointments, I would say some of the alarming bells were that they were hiring Dutch people. So the first thing I thought of, are they hiring Dutch people because they necessarily believe that Ten Hag is the guy? Some people will say yes, some people will say no. Some people will be like, oh, see, he's still getting his own people. But I tried to look at it in a different way. Ineos did say that they will keep him, so they will back him. Technically, when you think of it, that is what you want to see from Ineos. Now, me wanting Ten Hag has nothing to do with me saying they're doing the right thing or not. They're getting 2 former Dutch head coaches. Obviously, Ruud van Nistelrooy is a Dutch, is a former coach, and René van Hecke obviously was René Hecke. From Go Ahead Eagles. He was an active coach as well. So they're getting him 2 assistants that actually managed a team on their own. So they have the experience of being a head coach, let alone an assistant. So when you really look at it, we technically upgraded the support cast for him. So Benny McCarthy is going to be gone. And what's the other guy called? Van de Gaag is going to be gone. So you technically upgraded his support cast, which when you look at it, that's what Ineos said they're going to do. They're going to give him the best equipment to succeed. Me liking or not has nothing to do with the fact that is actually what they promised. So looking at that, these are good moves. Obviously, I looked at it a different way when I told you last week. I even texted, I said, maybe Ruud van Nistelrooy being there is also a plan B to whenever they think, if they predict that it might go wrong with Ten Hag, you have a backup coach. Now you actually have 2 backup coaches. So we can find ourselves in a situation where Ten Hag is not doing well, and we won't be like, oh, what do we do now? We cannot get rid of him because, oh, are we going to get an interim? This, and that. This is me obviously predicting the worst. You do have an experienced coaching staff right now that even if something happens with Ten Hag, you can rely on the second and third man because both of them have actually coached teams in the respective leagues. So when you look at it, they are good moves. You're adding footballing people, as they said. You're adding quality people. And listen, they're from the same league that he was in. Ruud van Nistelrooy obviously has experience from the Premier League because he's played in the Premier League. He probably has better English and better communication than Ten Hag does. So maybe that helps him better with communicating, number 1, with the players, number 2, with the press, and number 3, with the fans and all that stuff. So it kind of ticks some of the boxes that I didn't have ticked because of Ten Hag, so it technically helps with that. And not to mention that obviously he is a United legend and he does get that respect the minute he walks into the locker room. We've always talked about the respect that probably the players don't give Ten Hag, and I still stand on that. But I probably won't say the same with Van Nistelrooy. You think Van Nistelrooy is coming there and telling Rashford as an example? I'm just going to use him hypothetically by giving him instructions to do this, this, and that. I highly doubt Rashford, who grew up in Manchester, born and bred, played in the academy, grew up. His dream was to play for United, like all these legends. So he probably grew up watching Van Nistelrooy anyways. He's not going to give him the respect that he deserves. So it does fix a lot of the things that I had concerns about, and I think it does make us a better team because now we have a better coaching staff. Obviously, the only thing that's lacking now is going to be the backing on the pitch because we still have to see. Obviously, we'll get into that a little bit later with Ugarte and all that. So we're going to have to see the backing on the pitch. So more of the story is, yeah, I do like the appointments that we're making when it comes to the coaching staff.
Yeah, listen, I hear you on that, and I think someone said, "Oh, the manager's being backed," and everybody's first thoughts are that they're there to replace him. I don't think it's a singular thought that they're there to replace him. I think it's just when you're having a detailed think and sort of reflecting on the situation, that's a possibility if things go wrong. What I love about the new deal is there was a bit of talk, if you remember when it was announced he was staying, there was talk about there's no rush for a new deal. When I heard that was the only element of the report where I was like, that worries me, because he's still got that veto on transfers, which theoretically, if they don't change the contract, he can use because it's a pre-existing agreement. I like the fact that they're essentially making him a head coach. I like the fact that they're stripping away a lot of his powers. I like the fact that the only thing they haven't done in EOS, which I thought they should have done, and this is where I want to be objective rather than subjective, because I don't believe that I know everything. Some people will say, Terry, you definitely do, but I don't. But they are clearing out the boardroom. They're clearing out the coaching staff. They're going to remove some of the dead wood and players that don't want to be here. It's going to take a while to change the squad completely. But I like all those facets. And I think all three of us would probably agree that all of us have been surprised by the brand of football Ten Hag has played for 2 years, considering what we knew about him before he joined. What I like is, and I've said all along, I don't really care what style of football the club picks, as long as two things happen. We're consistent with it over a prolonged period of time, and it wins, and we win trophies with it. I don't care if it's stinky. I don't care if it's the best football. I want my club to win trophies and be consistently competing. So I like the fact that the club is looking at it and saying, look, we bring in our own coaching staff, we bring in our own recruitment teams, we bring in our own decision makers. We get Ten Hag to coach in a particular way. We change his contract slightly. But even if he kind of fails, we're going to stay on this path and we're going to still try and... We don't know what the football's going to look like yet. We have to wait for a ball to be kicked. And I wouldn't expect Man United to tell the world how they're going to try and play football either. Why would they reveal, a boxer doesn't come out typically, sometimes they do, and reveal the strategy he's going to fight with on a Saturday night? Because why would you tell your opponent what you're going to do? Every now and then you get a fighter that says, remember George Groves famously, the Carl Frotz was, I'm only going to throw 2 right hands in the first round and they're both going to land. And he actually did that and knocked him down. And every now and then you throw those things in, but yeah, I'm encouraged by it. I'm keeping my feet firmly on the ground. I'm not getting carried away in any capacity, but a lot of the initial appointments for the structure and the foundation feel good. Like Lawless, from your perspective as sort of a rival of, well, West Ham are a rival of Man United. I've been to West Ham away many, many times. You guys definitely see us as a rival or a club you don't like. But from an outsider's perspective, what do you view of the sort of the business around the coaching staff this week and the talk of Ten Hag's new deal?
Yeah, I think it's ultimately positive. This is what I said to Staffy 2 weeks ago. Like, I get you don't like Ten Hag, but give him a chance in this new structure. Yeah, with the new resources. Like I said, it's different. I understand the reasons why Man United fans might not, have wanted Ten Hag. But like we said, he's here now. They're bringing in some quality coaches. You said director of football. All of that is around. So now less on his shoulders. He gets to focus on, coaching that team and making them as good as they can be, and then the tactical decisions on the match day. No worrying about... I think one of his weakest things has been talent ID, right? For what we've seen in terms of his signings, most of them have been pretty poor. If you look at it, Højlund has been, a standout. He signed Højlund, right? And I think he signed Garnacho, right? Ten
No
Hag?
tours from the academy.
From the academy, yeah. But
We signed him
okay.
from Atletico Academy to ours a few years ago.
Okay, fair enough. So okay, you say you give him Hoyland then, but yeah, mostly it's not been good. So if the director of football can give him the tools, I don't think he's a bad coach. Like Man United fans were hyped when the most were. Staffy, you weren't mad. You weren't sitting there going, "Oh my god, we got this fraud." Don't I need to go back and see what he was like. Yes.
Hey, I wasn't on YouTube, so there's no proof. I can make any narrative I want right now. There's no proof. No one can fact check me.
Kids, if anyone knows Staffy and can vouch for how he reacted.
I was very pro Ten Hag. I wasn't there when he got hired, but I was on the terrace in his first season. I did back him a lot. So I've never
there's something there. Like I said, Man United's been a clown show for a very long time behind the scenes. It's nothing's a given that now you're going to be this amazing team, but it's a step in the right direction. You're moving the way you should have been moving a long time ago. Now, Ten Hag has to deliver. Spotlight is on him. Yeah, like if you don't, then boom.
I agree. I agree with that, and I think there is room to be optimistic. And hearing what Sir Jim said last week, when I think he was questioned when he was working with Bloomberg, and they sort of said, well, "Why did you stick with the manager?" And his response was, "Who? Eric?" And I said, "Yeah, he's a very good coach." Essentially, and I'm paraphrasing here, but that we did the review. And yes, they interviewed other people, which I think was absolutely the right thing to do because you've got to test the water because you're changing his role. And essentially, Ten Hag re-interviewed for his job, which happens in many organizations when there's redundancies, essentially. Sometimes you re-interview for a slightly changed role. And they ultimately were right. And again, I'm probably swimming in the realms of confirmation bias because it's always been my belief. But their conclusion was we've had 7 coaches in the last 10 years have all failed. The conclusion of our long, in-depth thematic review of the club and the company is that it can't have been all the coaches. It can't just have been. And I've had this debate with so many Man United fans. This idea that just get the right coach and we're fixed is wrong. You can already see from Barada to Wilcott to Dan Ashton to our own coaching staff, new medical team. If Ten Hag starts to deliver, or if Ten Hag's sacked after 2 months and a new guy comes in and starts to make us play well, I don't want to hear, I knew this coach was good enough. This isn't just about the coach. This is about the infrastructure being built to begin with. Once our infrastructure is good and we actually are a well-run club again, then I think you start to focus more on your head coach around how much further does that individual take your team. But until you've got that structure and that platform for them to move forward from, although you can question a manager's tactics and his substitutions, none of that changes. But it's never been, for me, the forefront of our biggest problem. And even when I was like, I think Ten Hag's got to go, and I think you both will advocate for this. I said it many times. I don't think overnight that changes our fortunes. It's a much bigger issue. So, yeah, I'm happy with it. There's a transfer rumor today, Staffy, which is interesting because we've seen this before with Palestri. We've seen this before when Manchester City signed Julian Alvarez, where you get the sort of local on-the-ground reporters in their home nations. And in this instance, the sort of Uruguayan press are heavily touting that Man United are close, very close indeed, to agreeing a deal for Manuel Ugarte to come into our midfield. What do you make of him as a player? And how happy, annoyed, sad, excited would you be if United get this deal complete?
It's one of those where I don't have a strong feeling either way. I'm kind of down the middle there. There is a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons. And it depends on where you want to start. I was thinking about it yesterday because I did a show about it on my channel, and I was just trying to brainstorm. And some of the cons, I'll start with that, I guess. The first con that I looked at, and it was kind of like alarming, is that Luis Enrique wanted to get rid of him after 1 year at PSG, and he's known to be a possession-based manager, and he doesn't think he's good enough to play for a possession-based team. So when I look at that and I see that technically that's what we're trying to do, we're trying to play possession-based, right? We're going for a player who didn't do well in a possession-based team. They're actually willing to sell him on a discount. They signed him for about 60 million, I believe, and we're trying to get him for about 30 to 40 million. So they're willing to lose money to get rid of him. So that's a bit alarming. Um, for people who don't know, and I guess let's just talk about it, the type of profile that he is. He's a bit of a Casemiro without the GA. And when I looked at that, it just meant to me that Casemiro will leave if we sign him. And that's an automatic win because I can't wait for Casemiro to leave this team. So we're signing a similar profile to Casemiro. He's a bit of a mix of between a Casemiro and a Caicedo, where they break up play magnificently, a bit agile, runs a lot. You know, he's a ball winner, but on the ball he's not that great. Like he's a bit clunky on the ball. His passing range is not the worst, but like he's not the best when it comes to a position-based team. You know, he's not that sitting six who will spray the ball left and right like a Rodri would do. So these are the concerns that I have. But I try to be objective about it. If we do sign him for a lower fee, let's say 30 to 35 million. Initially we were linked to loan him in with an option to buy, and I like that because there's minimal risk when it comes to that. Because you could just
Yeah.
F him off a year after if he doesn't do well. I looked at it. I was like, if we get him, he can't be the main signing that we do in the midfield. Because I would personally always want Onana over him. But if we sign him and then we go sign another midfielder, I'll be okay with it. My worry is that we sign him and all United fans, like we did the last season with Mount and the season before with Casemiro, they all think we fixed the midfield. The midfield will not be fixed with one player in general, let alone Ugarte, because he is a different profile that will fit that midfield. Let's say we get a ball playing six and a breakup six. I like that because you need to have versatility in that midfield and you need to have different profiles in the midfield, especially if that means that now we're going to offload Casemiro and use that money to get someone else. But if they think this is the only signing, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but Ugarte is not really the guy that's going to fix this midfield.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any one signing we make this year in any position that's going to fix that entire area. I think that's going to take 2 to 3 summers to genuinely do that. But I like Ugarte. I think he's good. You know, we obviously linked to Branthwaite. We're linked to Joshua Zirkzee. My view on these players, very quickly before we go to Lawless, is I don't think any of them are going to be world class. I just think they're all going to be good to very good players. But equally, you look at the prices of them all, you're sort of United are trying to get them all for around 40 odd million pound. And suddenly, if you get 3 players in for about 120 to 130 million pounds, who are good technically, very good at the jobs that they do, I think that would be a very good start for us. You know, I would still like when I say a marquee player, I don't mean an Mbappe level. I mean somebody that's, okay, well, that's a bit more of a needle mover. But maybe this first year or two is more about players like this before we go and do what Arsenal did with Declan Rice last year. Maybe there's, again, I want that marquee player. But one thing I like about our approach so far to the way we're rebuilding our structure is we're doing things we've never done before. So almost part of me thinks if there isn't that marquee signing, it's lots of players at 35s, 40s, 50 millions that you may call middle of the road in terms of they're not rubbish. They're not world class. They're good to very good players. Maybe that's more what United need to do to actually improve, because typically most summers in the last decade, it's been a few players like that. And then we'll go after our own marquee signing who's 80, 90 million, 100 million that everybody gets excited over. There's huge pressure on. And ultimately we end up failing. So again,
sorry to interrupt, but this is not even the issue. Like, I understand what you're saying. I'm not even talking about in a way where it's like just big names that we just sign right away. Like sometimes, yes, you do have to get these stepping stone players until you're good enough to actually start making these 100 million signings and all that stuff. I get all that. My main issue right now is that I want to address the right profiles. Last year, I was very vocal about not addressing the right profiles when we went ahead and got Mount, because I didn't think it stables that midfield. If anything, it made it worse. It gave us a headache that we didn't need. How do you play Bruno and Mount? Well, maybe you should have never signed Mount and signed someone who would have and fit someone in that midfield that would have helped Bruno. A year later, we're kind of doing that again. I am worried that we will not address the profiles that we need in the midfield. When you look at all the big teams right now, they all have ball playing sixes. Yes, you might have 1 or 2 players that might be just break up play and they're not that good on the ball. And there's not a lot of teams like that, but like the top teams, they all have similar profiles like that. We are lacking a ball playing 6. And there's not a lot of good ones out there. anyways. So it's like I'm not really sitting here saying, yeah, we're missing on all these good players. Not a lot of them are out there. But we need to be addressing these profiles because I don't see how we progress with or without Ten Hag, by the way, when we don't address these issues.
Yeah.
It's been a few years and we still haven't addressed
No,
it.
I get where you're coming from with that. To throw this question out to Lawless, until it comes to addressing the profiles we need, I totally get where Staffy's coming from. But until we see how we're trying to play football, which is going to come in pre-season, we as fans, do we actually know what those holes are if we don't know the style of play that the new ownership are now saying this is how we want to play and this is what we need to get there? So it's almost a case of, is it hard to judge? Is it hard to look at things through Staffy's lens until we know what we're trying to do? Or is that ball playing six a necessity regardless of the style in your view, just as Staffy says?
No, I mean, I think you're right to a degree. Like, as fans, we could, you can only speculate on, profiles and how you think you'll play. But you're right. Like, if the fact you expect the club and the coach have decided, okay, this is how we want to play football, and we can second guess and go, is this the profile that we want? But if you don't want, say they do continue playing how you played, or all right, we're going to stick with how you played football last season. We're not going to approach the more attacking or possession-based football. Then you might look at the players and go, you don't really fit in an attacking style. So, yeah, you can then criticize that because, well, this isn't a profile. This may be a profile that they want that fits how they want to play. But it says me as a fan, it's a profile that I want to see us playing. And this is, I think, such a pivotal position for Man United next season that, yeah, you have to get it right. Amrabat didn't work out. He's going back on loan. I don't imagine you'll be signing him on a permanent. I did see
that one is finished. I would have took him back. That one is finished.
Yeah, I did see some positive reviews of him from fans towards the tail end of the season. Like, he grew into it, but I don't think he made enough of an impact.
I think me and Staffy both agree on this. The fact he wasn't being played regularly enough in his best position, we thought was, and then when he did in the last sort of 4 or 5 games, we started to see him really find his feet. And listen, I mean, he's going to go back to Fiorentina. I still think a club that actually wants to utilize him in these positions, there's a very good player in there. His performance in the FA Cup final, he was brilliant at home against Arsenal towards the end of the season. And yeah, I'm a little gutted that one didn't work out. But the good thing is,
it would take to sign him on a permanent note, because if, say, there was a bargain, right, and we would be under the assumption of, okay, with new regime, new thing going forward, he's going to be our defensive midfielder. He's going to be played in his position, right? What would you be happy with then for the club to pay? That you'd be happy, okay, Amrabat's staying. We're not going to get someone else. We're not going to get Ugarte. We're not going to get Onana. We're going to stick with Amrabat. What would you be happy with? Like, what would make you happy for that decision in terms of how much
a price for Amrabat?
Yeah, price plan.
Like, the thing about Amrabat is about 18 million if we would have bought him. And the issue is Yusuf Fofana is there for just slightly more, and he is a better player. So when you look at it, United want to get Yusuf Fofana. Like, would you rather when you go to buy food and it's like, if you upgrade like 1-2 pounds, you're getting like the large instead of the medium. That's really how it is with Amrabat and Yusuf Fofana. You're upgrading by a couple $1 million, but you are getting a much better player. That is the issue that was with Amrabat, to be fair. I think Amrabat was decent on the ball. I think he was hard done by United 100%. If he got more game, like Terry said, he played 4 games in a row in the 6 towards the end of the season. He didn't do that all season, and no wonder why he looked good, because he actually got a consistent run of play next to Mainoo. So surprise, surprise. My issue is that Amrabat is actually better on the ball than Ugarte. So that's why I'm looking at it. I think we needed an upgrade on Amrabat anyways if we would have kept him. So now we're low-key downgrading on the ball ability, and we still need to adjust it again. That's my main issue.
I don't know if there's. I mean, again, I've watched more of Amrabat than I've watched of Ugarte to say whether we're downgrading. Where I would say potentially an upgrade is mobility. Is probably better.
I was about to say that mobility and physicality. Yeah. I will be honest with that.
So you've got that kind of team. Yeah, I look at it as, I like Amrabat, but there's the potential for Ugarte to be probably an extra £10 million, £15 million more expensive. But there's a potential for him to be better for us. So I'm going to trust the recruitment team in the short term and say, well, if you're not going to give me Amrabat, and we know Casemiro's going, I'm hoping we bring in somebody better than both of them at this particular, because again, Casemiro at his pomp, amazing, isn't there anymore. You mentioned Fofana there. Is that, I don't know much about him. Is that someone whose profile is a bit more ball playing six, or what's his profile? I don't know much about him at all, so I'm not going to pretend to do.
The biggest upgrade on him to Amrabat, to be fair, Amrabat is just very stiff. So that's the issue with Amrabat. Like, we just needed more physicality in that midfield. And by the scouts, he's rated much highly than Amrabat. And I don't know his age, but he's pretty young still. I could be wrong.
25, 25 it says here.
Which is a good age for a midfielder. 25, 26. That's when midfield is low-key mature. But I think the main aspect was the physicality that we lack in that midfield. That's why also, that's actually one of my concerns with Ugarte. It's not that I'm so against him. He also doesn't solve one of my issues, which is the lack of height that we will have. I think we have a very short team, and I've said this before, which is one of the reasons I really wanted Onana. When I look at the midfield, I'm gonna have 2 6 feet midfielders in him and Mainoo. Mainoo is 5'11", 6 feet. Ugarte 6 feet. Our midfielder, our back line, we have Lissandro in that back line. Like, you do, it sounds very basic, but you do actually need height in that team, and we don't have height in that team.
I mean,
someone made a comparison. One second. Someone made a comparison. It was like, oh, but that Barca team with Pep was short. It's an insane thing to say. That team was so good that they always played the ball on the floor. And like, that's such an anomaly.
Yeah.
You know, like,
but
that you don't mention.
The height levels might change though. If we end up bringing in Todibo and Branthwaite, suddenly then you've got some really good height in the back line to help you. And 6 foot for midfielders isn't particularly short. But I get what you mean by overall height of the team.
Because when you look at Onana's example, Onana's like 6'4", I believe, or 6'3". There's a significance difference.
I hear you.
Onana's much more dominant in the air. So I'm trying to look at it in many ways where I'm like, okay, if I'm getting a midfielder who's not necessarily great on the ball, what other boxes do they tick for me? That's why I would still go for Onana. I will be realistic, though. I do understand that negotiating for Onana will be much more difficult than negotiating with PSG over Ugarte. Because it's about to be half the price, and they want to get rid of him anyways. Whereas Onana, Everton are going to try to milk us out for every penny to get him.
And we're trying to get Branthwaite. So trying to get 2 players.
It's going to be hard to get both.
It's very, very difficult indeed. But viewers, look, we'd love to get your take on these stories today in the comment sections below. Make sure like buttons have been hit as well. Talking of transfers, Chelsea have had an interesting summer so far. You know, Tosin has come in. They've missed out on a couple of players, Šeško being one of them as an example, Elise being another. Then they've gone and signed a number. Some of them have a done deal. Some of them are on the edge of youngsters that most of us haven't really heard of. There's a few that people would have done, the young lad from Barcelona as an example. But they've hijacked a deal for Dewbury-Hall. So he is now essentially, the deal of him going to Brighton has now collapsed. He wants to go to Chelsea. That deal is appearing to be almost imminent, sort of a 35-odd million pound move for him. What do you make of that, Lawless? Is that a good piece of business for Chelsea to improve their midfield?
35 million. It's not exactly. I don't think it's exciting. You know, I don't know if they want to bring their English player or homegrown player profile up. It's a decent player. Is it what they really need? I don't know. Is it just Maresca bringing in a player that he knows? And I can understand, like, if I'm a Chelsea fan, when you get a new manager in, and we've just seen it with Lopetegui, you know, being linked with Wolves players, you kind of trust, like, okay, they know this player well. This player, they've just obviously managed them. They're going to bring something to the team that maybe we're not seeing. So I understand, like, from what I've seen from Chelsea fans, they're not thrilled about the signing. It's not an exciting signing. So I understand that. But like I said, if Maresca, you know, has more of an insight of something than a plan, you've got to trust the new coach. You know, you've got to trust that he has a vision for what he can bring to the team. You know, they're all backing the new guy, Maresca. So you've got to back the signing the first time round. You've got to give it a go. I can't see it being personally a transformative signing for Chelsea. And I think they need a lot of work overall, that squad. But we'll see. Like I said, I think it's decent. 35. But I don't know their budget. I don't know their funds. I know there was some sort of talk. And we know, we didn't even mention this when we talked about things to talk about. And I didn't see if you spoke about Wednesday, but how the Premier League are trying to clamp down on these sort of loopholes or whatever that
well, I read the article today. It's really interesting at Lawless because essentially they're saying there's no issues with what you've done, but there's bylaws, which essentially, and these laws have been brought in since the situation with City, where the Premier League can request external and internal emails and communications regarding players. So, for instance, we want to see what your communication with the agent was like. We want to see what your communication with Leicester was like, or your communication with whatever Aston Villa was like, just to make sure that you're actually contacting them in a very typical fashion, a very sort of a very typical way of doing things.
They're not going, hey, listen, if you sell me this guy, I'll sort you this out.
Well, and that's the only concern. Look, I don't think they're doing anything wrong personally, but I'd actually prefer the Premier League to be looking into it than not. So, for instance, if Man United do get Todibo, I want us to be doing the right thing. I think we'll do the right thing. Therefore, I don't have any issue with UEFA or the Premier League asking for documentation to prove that it's all above board and legitimate. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Some of the prices that were a bit eyebrow raising. Some of the youngsters, like Villa, are selling that players has never played, maybe played 1-2 games, is going for 35 mil with hardly any game time under his belt because they've got a player coming the other way. I don't know, like some of these.
Yes and no. Yes and no, but Liverpool were selling players like Jordan Ibe and Solanke and Riyad Brewster for 20-25 million pounds 5-6 years ago, and no one, like City are selling players with no experience for 10, 15, 20 million pounds. So I don't think it's any different.
Usually you allow clubs like that, right? Like that's why I saw it. So it's because it's from Liverpool, and they've got that tax behind it. That's how I always saw it. You pay a premium, right? We used to sign players from Man United or from Arsenal, and we used to sign their cast off for. So it's just when I look at a Villa player and a Villa selling to a Chelsea and they're paying a premium, I don't know, but I see your point. But I can see why the Premier League have come out and go, we're going to look into this because it's obviously raised a red flag enough for them to come out and say that, right? So it'd be interesting. But yeah, so Chelsea, their finances, to me, I don't know what shape they're in. Like I said, they sold the hotels and they've done this. I don't know if they got 200 mil to spend, or they're going to have to sell some players. It's going to be very interesting. Then you judge a signing because you look, if they've got a budget of, I don't know, 100 mil and they're slapping down 35 mil, like a third of it on Dewbury-Hall, then you start to look, is that the best allocation of that money? So yeah, that's what I'd be interested to see their funds.
Staffy, before I go to you, I want to read you this tweet came from Sugar Sean, obviously a big Chelsea fan on socials, and it says toss in for free. Mark, I think it's pronounced Gui.
I know who you're talking about.
5 million. Dewsbury-Hall. And then underneath it has question marks. And underneath it says this is a Brentford level transfer window. Do you agree with that take from a Chelsea fan that when you look at the players Chelsea are bringing in, they're not moving the needle far enough to bridge the gap that's developed in the last couple of years?
I don't know. I hear why he's saying that, because none of these signings are flashy, but it's exactly what you just said about Man United. We don't need these flashy signings right now. Let's just be very realistic. I don't even come out here and slander Chelsea, because I've just heard too much slandering and no objectivity at all when it comes to Chelsea. So I'm trying to be objective about it. When I look at all these signings that they're trying to make, it gives me an idea that they're trying to accommodate very well to this manager. What does this manager do? He plays a possession-based style on the floor, quick, fluid, moving the ball around. When I look at all these signings right now, as much as I don't know this, the guy from Barcelona, I need to figure out how they say his name, the gay guy, or however they say his name. Usually, when you sign someone who played for Barca Academy, whatever, it means they're very good on the ball, because that's their academy from the under 10s to the senior team. That's how they play football.
Unless it's Adama Traore.
That one, I don't know how that one slipped. But anyways, when you look at these players, even at Dewsbury-Hall, it's all similar profiles to what I think. What's his name? Maresca played with Leicester, and obviously that's what he's been doing with Pep, because he worked under Pep. So profile-wise, they make sense. But let's talk about how big the names are. Do we really have to sign big names to feel like the transfer market was successful? I don't think so. I really don't think so. And I want to use Ainge as an example last season. He went to Spurs, lost his biggest name, Kane, and signed a bunch of players. Let's be honest, we didn't all know. Some of us just knew, but not that much. Vicario, Van de Ven, forget Brennan Johnson. That was a dead signing. But they signed a couple players. Obviously, brought back Udogi. These were all players that we didn't know who they are, but they fit what he was trying to do. And I would much rather a manager get the profiles that he wants rather than the names. Because I can tell you from experience, and Terry could tell you the same thing. Man United in the past 10 years, we have had arguably some of the biggest signings in Europe. I don't think anyone has had bigger signings than us, if I'm being honest. At the time, obviously. We've always went for big names, and it just never worked because it didn't fit what any manager was trying to do. There's a level of impatience and incompetence when it comes to Chelsea fans, because rightfully so, yes, they have been spoiled. Yes, they are a big club. I don't care what anyone says. I heard people trying to say they're not a big club. No, they are a big club. Sometimes that still plays a part in them being a little bit impatient and acting like brats, and so be it. We'll call them out when it fits. But to be fair, I would rather be moving the right way, which is making these signings that not everyone knows. Pep, when he signs players from freaking Argentina every year and no one knows, no one says anything. Obviously, it helps that he's winning on the pitch. So that's why no one says anything. But when City do it, we all look here 2 years later. I'm like, how come only City thought of Julian Alvarez and Gabriel Jesus and blah, 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 blah 2-3 years ago? And we all sit here and feel like our board is stupid and all that. But then I'm seeing Chelsea trying to go for profiles rather than names, and people were upset with it. It just doesn't make sense to me. I feel like at the end of the day, some people's work at the end of the day is to run agendas. They probably wouldn't be able to put bread on their table if they didn't run agendas. But when you're really trying to look at it in a footballing aspect, I don't think Chelsea's doing anything bad this summer. I mean, sometimes their links are a little bit too much, and I question them, like, is this really the player that you need? But overall, back to that tweet that you mentioned, if you're comparing it to a Brentford summer, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. It just sounds it screams spoiled to me.
Excitement. That's what it is, Staffy. Like when you have to.
They want an Osimhen. Give me Osimhen. Yes, we signed Osimhen. That's what they want, bro.
Because it's like your birthday, Christmas, whatever. If every year you're getting, new PlayStation games, exciting stuff, all this fun stuff, and then the next year you just get clothes. Yeah, clothes is what you need, but you're not excited. You're gonna be like, oh, it's dead, and that's how they're like. They're used to
I get where you're coming from. The only player that they've been linked to, Chelsea, that I look at it and say, please don't, was Duran. That looked like a stinky signing, in my opinion. I don't think he's very good. He just reminds me of a really much poorer version of Emil Heskey. And like every now and then he's going to hit a thunderbolt and it's going to fly into the roof of the net. But actually, overall, his play isn't very good. That was the only one. Dewbury-Hall, I think, where I disagree with the more positive Chelsea fans who go, he's coming in to replace Gallagher, and they're almost suggesting like he's going to be a squad player. I think if and when you sign Dewbury-Hall, I think he's going to be a starter at Chelsea. I think he's going to be somebody that your manager integrates into that team very, very quickly. And that's the element that I'm really intrigued about. And I love what you said, Staffy, because I've sort of been reflecting on Chelsea because I've just been reading what a lot of Chelsea fans are saying, watching their content, kind of digesting it. And I get the frustration that some have if they don't rate the players because everyone's entitled to an opinion. I see others that I think are overexcited, still thinking we're back this season. I think both groups currently are wrong. I think there could be a steady progression with Chelsea this year. I also sometimes think that, again, it's about picking your best team and not your best players. They may have a midfield of Lavia, Enzo, Caicedo, Dewbury-Hall next year as their main four midfield players. On paper, you'd go, well, Dewbury-Hall's the guy that's got to be on the bench if you're going to play a three-man midfield. But the more balanced midfield might include him. And I think that's the only thing I would say to Chelsea fans that you have to factor into your mind is that maybe some of the stars that you've really gone out to bat for in the last 18 months when you've not had much else good going on, they could fall by the wayside as your team starts to get better. But that isn't even me digging your club out. I only think that happens if your team's actually improving. So the more I look at Dewbury-Hall, I think it's a good signing for them. Do I think him alone, like you said earlier about Ugarte to United, do I think him coming in alone is going to make this Chelsea team click and get them back into the Champions League, back winning trophies, back seen as one of the best teams in Europe? No, they're going to need more than that. But I look at the two main signings so far in Tosin and Dewsbury-Hall, and I think they're great age profiles, 25 to 26, experienced. They understand the league. I like them. I think they're
How
really...
old is Dewsbury-Hall? Because I know he already played in the Premier League.
He's 25. He's 25. He turns 26 in September. And I think this is the reason why I'm going to praise it is I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't. I don't think he's a bad player, first of all. But the second reason I think it's good is this is the age they needed. When I just saw them in the last week, just linked to 18, 19, I'm like, okay, I get the methodology, but you've got to add some experience into this squad. And I don't even mean 500, 600 games old. I mean, there's some actual fully grown men. Men's frontal lobes don't develop until they're about 25, fully develop. You're not fully grown up until around 25. That's a scientific fact, I believe. Sometimes you need players of that age range to help. And some of the stuff is intangibles in terms of helping to control the dressing room, calm the young players down, nurture them through difficult moments, because young people are by definition immature. Immaturity leads to inconsistency. And that's what you're striving to not be as a football team. That balance is so important. Sorry, somebody here has just said...
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Matthijs de Ligt again, man. This club, man.
Man United has seriously considered a move for Matthijs de Ligt from Bayern Munich. No clubs talks yet, but certainly the move may happen. But Bayern Munich centre-back increasingly viable option for Manchester United. Independent of ongoing Branthwaite interest. But he's tall. You want a tall player, Staffy?
Yeah, but he's slow as fuck. He's a Dutch Maguire. I don't want him, man. I'm tired of this guy. He's one of the most overhyped players I've ever seen in football.
Lawless, you know, that objectivity went straight away. It's gone.
No, bro, because
someone said that in the chat. You got no objectivity when it comes to Man United. When it comes to Chelsea, yeah, they're good. Man United is like,
how am I not being objective? He's not what we need. This guy's been a failure since he left Ajax. One of the most overhyped teams, by the way, in history, because everyone who left that team pretty much failed, bar, what's his name, De Jong, who kind of stayed still. He didn't regress, but he stayed still. Everyone else regressed. The guy got benched by Eric Dyer last season and got benched by Kim Min-jae, was a flop at Juventus, and people want him because he played Ajax football, and he was like, bro, he doesn't even get his national team, bro. Why are we getting this guy, man? I've had enough of this club. So even that one Friday where I'm like, you know what, today I'm not going to be pissed about United. I'm just going to speak objectively. We go for the Dutch Maguire, bro.
How can you be angry at a report? You don't know it's happening. You don't know
because we've been reporting with this guy for a hot minute now, bro. Watch, we're going to get him. We're going to get him 100%.
I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. When Ornstein tweets about something or mentions it, this is my theory on David Ornstein, what he's become. And this is all, by the way, a positive about him. He doesn't need, a lot of journalists, they have to mention things in the early stages so they get traction and build their name up. But when you mention things early, you get more wrong in the eyes of the fans because lots can change. Ornstein's got to a point where I don't think he mentions it until it's so far down the road that it's likely to happen. Does that make sense? So typically speaking, when Ornstein says something, it ends up happening. So look, I'm not that disappointed.
It's a horrible signing.
I quite like him. I've always quite liked him.
What are you talking about? What's the price? Just before we say it's a horrible signing.
Probably going to be like 30, 40 million. Something like that.
I don't know yet. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's I would say that 30, 40 million mark would probably be about right. But I'm just not against it. I quite like it, bruv. I quite like it.
This guy went to Juventus. They sold Bonucci when he went there years ago. He was so shit that they signed Bonucci again after they sold him. Goes to Bayern after doing nothing with Juventus, and he was a part of their downfall team. Goes to Bayern, gets benched within 2-3 years by Eric Dyer and Kim Min-jae. We were trying to get Kim Min-jae, and he benched him. So we're getting the guy who got benched by the guy who we didn't sign, and people want me to be happy about it. Honestly, it's a joke. He doesn't get ahead of what's his name from Inter Milan, De Vrij and Aki, and this guy's been a captain of the Ajax team since he was like 16, and you still can't get in your national team.
Is he an upgrade on what he's got?
Wallah, he's not better than Maguire. I've said this before. Maguire is a better player than him. I swear to God, Maguire is better than him. I'd rather have Maguire than this guy.
Interesting.
I'm pissed, man. Just end the stream today. Just end the stream today. And not to mention, it's another Ajax signing. Oh my god, man.
But maybe he's, finally going to play the Ajax way next season. We're going to see some Ajax ball, and it will work out.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I would say. Again, I understand where Staffy's coming from. I do, and I'm not saying I'm gonna play the objective side here. So I don't think I'm not as big a hater on De Ligt. I think De Ligt's biggest issue, like a number of those players you mentioned, and I've seen players outside of Ajax do this. I think João Felix left Benfica too early. I think Renato Sanchez left. I want to say it was Benfica as well. But it was either Benfica or Port, whatever club he was at. He left too early. I sometimes think these young players move too soon. They move too soon. And although people get, it's just football, you're talking about emigrating, leaving your friends and family, typically speaking, behind, because you're normally not married at that point and settled, when you're basically a child still and you're going into a bear pit. And some people, they thrive in that. But for a lot of young people, some young people struggle moving out of their mum and dad's home and going to uni 30 miles away. All right. And again, that's where I will defend De Ligt. The other side of it is this. We have bemoaned that Ten Hag's come in, bought players that you think would fit the style of play that he was typical for, but then hasn't coached it. If we're going to start coaching a more Dutch style, it stands to reason that we're going to want players that have played within those systems before. So that's the objective side, which I'm intrigued about. I do think he's better than Maguire, though. But listen, I do get where Staffy's coming from. Viewers, let us know your thoughts. Ornstein Bomber. Ornstein Bomb. De Ligt to Manchester United is on. This is a deal that is on. This is a deal that is active. Wow. What do you make of it, Lawless? What do you make of it, bro?
Yeah, it's an interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, 35, 40 mil. That's a big chunk of change, and it is an area that you need. Like we saw the injuries last season. But yeah, like I said, this new setup that you've got a new director of football and a new process. If you're going to trust it, you got to trust they know what they're doing. Until they prove you wrong, until they prove themselves to be incompetent, you got to go, do you know what? Let's give Ashworth and them, whatever, all the behind the scenes coaching staff, technical directors, let's give them a chance and see if it fits. Like I said, he's got something to prove. He's going to have to prove himself. But I don't think it's as bad as Staffy is making out. Staffy's reacting worse than when he saw.
It's not 2018, Lawless. It's 2024.
You're more angry than when you found out Ten Hag was staying. That's the funny thing.
Because it's a dead signing, bro. Like, I have these players, I have these people that are saying he's a good signing. They probably haven't even seen him since he left Ajax. They just go by reputation. I promise you, in the last 4 or 5 years, he's done nothing in European football better than Harry Maguire. At least Harry Maguire used to perform internationally. There's no point of this. It's just a sideways signing that I hate it because we're going for a player that was hyped up 4 or 5 years ago. We have moved on from 4 or 5 years ago. Why should I trust someone who didn't work out well in Juventus and Bayern? I'm not trying to rediscover players here, bro. I'm not trying to do what Arteta did with Havertz. I'm not Dr. Phil. I don't want to sit there and find out what was wrong with you, trying to find out what's your personality issues. Maybe I can help you heal. I don't care. I do not care. Keep him where he is. Send him back to Ajax. I don't need him. I do not need him. That whole team, no one has done anything. So that whole team failed. This whole team of Ajax failed after that. No one was a hit. As I said, only De Jong was probably, you can argue, that had a good career. And I'm going for another one of these. It's just such a sideways move, bro. It's so disappointing to hear this again. While we're moving, everyone's moving forward, we're moving sideways again. Like it's 2018.
Wow. There we go. Do you know what? We need to keep these clips because if he signs and he's a hit, like we need to come back.
Bro, keep them. There's so many clips out there and we never revisit it. Do we need to revisit Rice, by the way?
Can I ask you a question, Staffy? If Man United were linked to Dewbury-Hall, would you have been as positive as you were about Chelsea getting them? You like him? Is that what it is?
I like him. Yeah, he's a good player. Yeah, I like him.
So
See, I don't go by big names. People think I
No, it's not,
people think I
it's not
want
big-
this shiny
it's
toe.
not-
I
it's
really
not big-
don't.
It's not big names. It's just, again, I think Dewsbury Hall is good. I'm not changing my stance here. But Dewsbury Hall 4 or 5 years ago, everybody was talking about, oh my God, this guy could be a superstar when he was 2021, when he was first breaking through. His hype's died away. Chelsea are getting him, and you're positive. It's not as though Dewsbury Hall has been. I know that he did well in the Championship. It wasn't as though even in that failing Leicester team, we were all watching him going, fuck, I know Leicester are crap this year, but Dewsbury Hall looked amazing. He looked good. I didn't say he looked bad. I've watched the Lit at Juve. I watched him at Bayern. I don't think he was awful. Equally, I agree with you. I've not watched him and gone, bloody hell, look at that performance from that centre-back. I'm not saying that either, but I do get it. You don't like him. You're not a fan, but he makes our team taller. Is that a good thing?
No, because as I said, keep
That's got to
Maguire.
be at least a positive, man. Come
As I
on,
said,
based
keep
on what you
Maguire.
said.
As I said, just keep Maguire at this point.
He wanted, yeah. Again, I'm not trying to. This is the thing. I'm not trying to spin it. I'm asking questions. It's a podcast. It's about conversations. I've said it 3 or 4 times. I totally get where Staffy is coming from. Terry, behave yourself. You don't defend Nunes the same way. First of all, Nunes is a Liverpool player, not a Man United player. Secondly, I've defended Nunes on many, many, many occasions. Many occasions, I think some of the criticism have been is over the top. However, Nunes is a striker who, in my opinion, misses so many big chances that it will cost Liverpool major titles in the end because you just need them to be taken. So that, I think, is fair criticism. I've also not sat here and said the Lit is amazing. The Lit is going to be Maldini, or he's going to be the reincarnation of Yap Stam at Manchester United. So I've been very fair on both, my friend. Been very, very fair on both. Big up, Terry. Missed your shows with Lee up the Reds. Yeah, I missed my shows with Lee. They were always good fun. Really good jostle between him and I enjoy them a lot. Turn that frown upside down, Staffy, is what Manny's got to say here. Hi, you tell and the lad, Ugarte is okay, but reminds me of Lucas Torreira, not physical enough. Don't forget our bets. Man United won't spend more than 120 million. Yeah, that was it when everyone said we had no money. They said 100. Yeah, you said 120 million pound max we'll spend. I think we'll spend more than that this summer. I won't forget that bet, my friend. I don't remember what we bet, but I know we had a bet. I don't remember how much it was for. Remind me, please. Remind me, please. Ugarte makes sense because United will play a double pivot with Mainoo as a deep-lying playmaker. It allows Mainoo to roam free whilst keeping Bruno higher up the pitch. Somebody has to do the dirty work.
No, I don't disagree with it. He's actually spot on, but for that same job, that's why I wanted Onana, because I feel like Onana complements Mainoo more. Because he's taller, he covers the space quicker that Mainoo can't cover. He wins the ball well. He makes up actually for the lack of height that I mentioned earlier. He is more of a fitting a partnership to Mainoo than Ugarte. But he is spot on by describing what we need. I just don't think that's the player that we need.
Obviously, we've slightly gone off Chelsea, even though it was a sort of a Chelsea conversation. Viewers, look, we'd love to get your thoughts and love to get your feelings. Chelsea seemingly very close to Dewsbury Hall coming in. And I listen, again, I know I'll defend Man United, but I also will agree with Staffy on his point around Chelsea. We've got to wait until the end. Like, I think too many fans this summer. I don't know what West Ham fans have been like, Lawless. Obviously, we don't really cover West Ham too much on the terrace because it's just not what we do. But I feel like everybody's panicking based on a lack of business thus far. When we all know there's 3 things at play. You've got PSR that ends in a couple of days' time. I think that'll increase things. Secondly, the Euros is on. Thirdly, Copa America is on. But I do feel like fan bases are acting as though the Premier League starts tomorrow and the window shuts on Monday and everybody's sort of up in arms because their team haven't done 4 or 5 bits of business yet. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, I've been saying that, like, to our fans who've been having a meltdown. You know, we've signed a player already, Luis Guilherme, and we're making moves, but we still got 2 months left of the window to be open, and like those other factors you've said. So, yeah, I try to be a little bit more calm and chilled on these windows and wait till the window shuts. But yeah, it's not a quick thing. Like, you go and slap the money down. There's so many things: negotiations, agents' fees, players' wages. Like, it takes time, man. It's frustrating as a fan. You just want it all done. But yeah, people do too much.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that, and we have to wait. And so sometimes a window can look average, and you bring 2 additional players, and you go, bloody hell, that was a really good window now. And I think it is just about being a little bit more patient with it. Before we move on to the Euros, I wanted to mention Arsenal, a weird story today, that they had a bid rejected for Jules Kounde. I read it and just thought, why the hell do they need or want Jules Kounde when they've got Saliba and Ben White in those particular areas who, I'm going to sound like I'm twerking, but I think they're better than Jules Kounde. I think Jules Kounde is good, but I don't think Ben White, I don't think he's a particularly big upgrade on Ben White, if at all. He's definitely not a better centre-back than Saliba. So I don't know if you boys read the sort of, like, I can't imagine that being true. I can't imagine them investing that money into Jules Kounde, unless I'm wrong.
The agents probably try to get him paid. That's what it is.
Yeah.
They have Ben White, who's a similar player, and they have what's the name of the guy that did his ACL?
Timber.
It's a very similar profile as well. So they definitely don't. Jules Kounde is a good player, but they don't need him, and he's going to be very expensive. If to speak like about this happening, he'd be very expensive, especially coming from Barca because they're broke. They're going to try to milk out everyone for every penny they could get. I don't see this making sense at all. It's probably agent talk, just trying to get him either a bigger contract. Maybe he's trying to get him a move sometime soon. So he's trying to up his stocks a little bit. Realistically, it's not what you want. And if you're about to splash some money in an area that you need to invest in and become even better at next season, I don't think it's your right back / right center back position. You're pretty good over there. We're still gonna see them with Timber, by the way, which I do believe they did very well last season. But imagine if they had a fit Timber, because he's very good at playing across the back line, right center and right, left, and center. So I'm really not believing it. That money is better invested in the midfield, in my opinion.
Yes, you need. I understand you need squad depth to, when you're going for the league, but yeah, that's one of them areas that they've got more depth in. Like, they need to be addressing that midfield with some of the players going. So it'd be a madness if they did just drop, because it's gonna cost a lot, and Barca they've said they ain't looking to sell, and it would cost a massive amount of money. So if they dropped that, you'd ask questions. I know, like there's not serious rumors, but there's been talk about, Saliba. There's been interest from other teams, from other clubs like Real Madrid and teams like that. So you'd wonder, is a player going the other way? So, but yeah, I doubt it. Like, I can't see it.
Yeah, it was one of those. I thought I'd talk about it because I agree with Staffy 100%. I feel like this is his agent trying to do something. I just can't. It doesn't make any sense. It's not an area they need to improve in. Like midfield and their attack seemingly should be the two areas that they're pumping all their time, attention, money, and resources into.
I can see Tomiyasu going, because his injury record, he hasn't really been reliable for them. So, but it's not. It just doesn't seem the fit to have him come in and maybe be like second choice or something. But there is going to be a spot available. I can see that.
That makes sense. It's also just been confirmed that Rene Hague has confirmed that he is signing for Manchester United as a new assistant coach. So the assistant manager or assistant head coach is going to be Ruud van Nistelrooy, and Rene Hague is confirmed he is coming in. And it is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's probably happened, but clubs haven't. I've never seen two managers. I know that he's out of work at the minute, Ruud, not through a lack of options, but turned down a manager's job, and a manager quit a manager's job to become assistant coaches and assistant managers. It's again, not getting carried away, but it's intriguing.
No, but that's why I said it's a massive upgrade. I was talking about it yesterday, and I said I've only seen this happen in the NBA. Only in the NBA I've ever seen head coaches step down and become assistant managers to better coaches than them, which usually results in that team being very good and ended up winning like a championship or something. I've never seen this in football. Like, usually once you get your first head coach / manager job, you just stay there. You might downgrade clubs, but you never really downgrade positions, which I found it very fascinating. I don't know what Ineos did. I don't know what they put in their drinks to convince them to become assistant managers when they were former head coaches. I mean, the fact that Ruud van Nistelrooy was offered the Burnley job and he said no so he can become Ten Hag's assistant, it means like Ineos just definitely did something well there. And I'm okay with it, because I feel like they're eventually building up Ruud van Nistelrooy to be the next head coach for United eventually. I truly believe it, and this one makes more sense with Rene. Go ahead, sorry.
We did that. We had Mark Warburton, who was a manager or a coach, and he became Moyes' assistant. And it didn't work out because, you know, as someone who come in from being a manager who's used to making decisions, being the main man, there was a clash. He had his viewpoint and philosophy, and Moyes had his. And one season later, Warburton was gone. So that is, I'm not saying it definitely will happen, but that is something that can happen when you're coming from being the main man and now you're working under someone.
The good thing, I hear you on that. I mean, did Moyes want him as well, or
no, Moyes was well, really
I mean, of course, it could definitely not work out. Look, it'd be an interesting one to see. Sort of sticking with Arsenal as we sort of move into England, Arsenal fans are not very happy at the minute. They're angry at Wrighty for suggesting that Saka should play left back. And I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans today unhappy at Paul Scholes, who has suggested that like Mainoo and the like and Bellingham can help win England games, but slamming Declan Rice saying he isn't releasing the ball fast enough. Arsenal fans obviously out there defending their players. What do you boys make of the Arsenal fans' reaction to the England criticism of their players?
Arsenal fans not happy. Like, that's just the standard phrase that you can say every week. Because when are they ever happy? Yeah, unless you are bending over, you know what I mean, praising their team to their hilt and their players, they're not happy. It is pathetic. It is childish. The stuff your own legend, Ian Wright, because he said, yeah, I think we should play Saka left back. Like, it's the worst thing. Like, he's come out and just said, yeah, like, called him all the names under the sun for making a tactical for your citizens and all of this anti-right propaganda I'm seeing online. It's pathetic. And now, because, you know, Rice ain't releasing the ball enough. Oh, wow, what slander. It's true. It's true. Relax, though. It don't change anything. Why are you so insecure about your players? You sit and hype yourselves up to the moon like, yeah, we're title contenders, we're this, we're that. So why do you care? Why are you insecure? Because certain people say, oh, yeah, he needs to do a little bit better, or maybe we should try him in a different position. He's not saying that Saka's no good at right wing. He's saying, well, maybe if we play Saka left back, which he has played, it gets Palmer into the team, and now we've got a stronger overall team because we get Saka and we get Palmer. So what? Absolute pathetic crybabies, and this is why I deal with them on a regular basis. Again, not all, but a lot of them. The vocal lot. It drives me mad. And the Arsenal fans that are more angry at me in the chat for calling this out than they are their own stupid fans are the part of the problem. You're just as bad. Call out your... Ian Wright is a legend, man. He's an Arsenal legend. How can they sit there and slam? I know it's probably some of the younger ones who've never seen him, but that's pathetic, man. To say for saying should play left back. Get a grip. You
know, you weren't here last week, Lawless, but hey, you remember this. Remember we were talking about England, and I told you the biggest issue is someone has to get dropped, and someone will cry when their player is going to get dropped. And now we're seeing it. Remember I told you there's a couple players that don't accommodate each other. And Rice is one of the ones that I mentioned. I mentioned multiple ways where I think they could play. And I'm glad it's coming from Scholes and Wrighty and all that, you know, because when I sat here and they told these men about 9 months ago that Rice is not a lone six in a position-based team or a team that's trying to dominate the ball, they all cried, they all did this, they all did that. And they're going to cry right now in 3, 2, 1. But, you know, this is why you don't win anything. It's been 58 years and you haven't won anything because everyone wants their favorite player to play and everyone think that the issue is not their favorite player, it's everyone else. And now that you're hearing it from legends suggesting similar stuff that I suggested, it's a bit spooky, you know. And I'm not surprised. As I said, I'm not surprised. No one wants their favorite player to be dropped, but it is the reality. And there's going to be chaos no matter what happens. Rice should be dropped, in my opinion. I said that midfield probably, I didn't even say it needs Mainoo. I said it probably needs Wharton because you need someone that picks up the ball off the back line. You know, I suggested another way where you kind of get Stones to invert into the midfield. But to be fair, I don't expect Southgate to understand how to do that. Only Pep can do that. So I'm like, at least try to fix the personnel in the midfield and try to put in a Wharton, try to put in a Mainoo. Keep Bellingham because Bellingham at least can get you some goals. But Rice does not have the same role that he has for Arsenal. So he's not needed in this team. I'm sorry to say it. I'm sorry if it's going to hurt anyone's feelings. You do not need Rice in that midfield with Bellingham. You need someone who's a little bit better on the ball. It is no surprise that last game when Mainoo came on and Cole Palmer came on, you saw a little bit more of ball movement, a little bit more possession, a little bit more of give and go and all that stuff. That one ball that Cole Palmer played in behind the defender that Mainoo had, and he squared it into the box, but no one was there. You didn't see little bits of this until these two came on. So when you see Righty suggesting Saka to move left back, well, guess what? You don't have a left back. So he's trying to see, okay, what is the closest solution we have to not having a left back? Who is left-footed that we can put there and kind of fit what the manager's trying to do? Saka. Is it too much of a sacrifice to move Saka from right wing to left back? No. Why? Because we can put in Cole Palmer. Can Cole Palmer play off Foden and Mainoo and Kane and actually make us look a little bit better? While now you have Saka on the other side overlapping with whoever's on the left. Let's say it's Anthony Gordon, whatever, and it's making the left side look better. Yes, these moves automatically make your team better. But you are so upset and in your feelings because you don't want little ass Saka moving out of his position because you think it's disrespectful. When you look at the greatest nations that have won trophies, someone was played out of position. Someone had to sacrifice for someone who is better than him. And no one here, and this is why I said England don't win anything, is because everyone is so stuck up when it comes to their players, and no one wants to sacrifice their players having a lesser role or being benched or being played out of position. No one says, you know what, when you look at Saka's attributes, what does he have? He has pace, he has power, he's left-footed, he holds the width well. Would he be a decent level? Has he played left back before? Yes, he did. So maybe he could help us. No one is thinking about it like that. Everyone is so worried, oh, but now the Chelsea fans are going to troll me if Cole Palmer plays there and he looks better. Oh, now if Foden does well, I'm going to look bad when it comes to the Man City fans. It's pathetic. It is absolutely pathetic. And as I said, and I'm going to say it again, because I just want to rattle them. I love rattling them. This is why your nation does not win anything, because you all think that you know football more than you do. It is the only nation that has so much resources and no one wants to make the right decision because everyone wants to fit their own agenda. If Harry Kane should be dropped tomorrow for you to win, you guys should be for it. If Foden has to be dropped tomorrow for you to win, you should be for it. If Bellingham has to be dropped tomorrow for you to win, you should be for it. But everyone is looking for agendas rather than what is good for this team. Because if they win with Saka and left back, oh, imagine the agendas. Oh, we only won because Saka wasn't playing his best position. And everyone's scared about it. But I'm not surprised.
Do you know what's crazy? Listen, there's so much truth in what you said in terms of the agendas people have. And I kind of understand it if you're not an England fan. And like yourself, Staffy, and you're defending Mainoo because you've got no dog in the fight. You don't support England. Part of me was annoyed that he was a Man United player, Mainoo, when I was suggesting he had to come into the team a couple of games ago because people were he's not a controller, Terry. He can't control the tempo. You're just saying it because he's a Man United player. Bruv, I don't really want a Man United player going into an underperforming England team because of the shit they get. But I believe a player like Mainoo is needed to make us look better. And we did start to improve in the second half. But again, the manager's so stupid. He brings in Mainoo. We get a bit more control in the middle, but then he puts Bellingham out on the wing. So you're still as imbalanced as you were in the first half, but it's just in a different pocket of the field now. I am open for anybody to be dropped from this England team for us to be able to win. I don't view Rice right now, for me, is not an Arsenal player. Mainoo is not a Man United player. They're England. And but we get this at club level. And if you notice how the unsuccessful clubs, big clubs that have been unsuccessful for a period of time, their love affair with players is so different to the fans of successful clubs. Because the fans of successful clubs understand that, like City fans, it feels like every year there's 2 or 3 players that get rotated in, rotated out. Last season, you barely saw John Stones. Season before, he was a stalwart. There was a couple of years where Ilkay Gundogan was the man. And then there's other seasons where he was a little bit more bit part in comparison. And that's because of form, meritocracy, and adjustments to the system. But you didn't see really many City fans complaining. Why? Because they were winning. And I think England fans are in this mold, coupled with their club tribalism, where it's like, oh, I need Kane to be. Like there are Spurs fans who, like the other day, I suggested I wouldn't mind dropping Harry Kane. That was the amount of Spurs fans in my DMs. You just don't want Kane to win a trophy. I'm like, no, I'm desperate for Kane to win a trophy, but I'm more desperate for England to win a trophy. So I'd love.
What's it got to do with him anyway? He's not their club anymore. I don't know if it's not going to change anything.
But they obviously, I think it's because some Spurs fans, if England would have won this Euros and Kane was the man. I think some Spurs fans, like, I mean this in a nice way. You know how West Ham say you won the World Cup, right?
Yeah.
When
they can't say that because he don't play for them anymore.
I know, it's even more warped. At least you had it. Do you know what I loved about you guys saying that as well? Obviously, I used to work right by your old stadium. You had a statue with your boys in it. What I loved is that West Ham United had a statue to commemorate the legends of their club in the England team, but they also had a Man United player in their statue as well, because Sir Bobby Charlton was there in the same statue. So I always love that. That's why I never understood the disrespect our clubs gave each other. I was like, they've got one of our legends as a statue of him outside their stadium, and we're hating on you. It didn't make sense to me. But I want us to win, and I'm open for anyone and everyone coming into this team to make us more balanced. And I don't think Wrighty was correct about playing Saka at left back, but there's some mileage in putting Saka on the left-hand side, because Trippier's inverting. People are saying play Gomez there. Gomez will invert. He's also right-footed. We need someone who can hold the width naturally on that side. And look, Anthony Gordon, I think, is a good example, but he's still going to cut in. I think we need someone that can spread the play. Ironically, I don't know if he is left-footed or not, but we really could do with Jack Grealish over there right now to spread that play, because we become so narrow and easy to defend against. And this is the problem. I would love for Saka and Kane, these players that have done well for England in the last 3 or 4 years, to be integral to us winning the Euros this year. But I want England to win it more than I want them to be the stars of the team. And that has to be the mindset at club and at country level, that the team winning is the most important element. And sometimes your favorite guy, I'm sure there were players that won the World Cup with Spain who sat on that bench, who, they might have been Arsenal fans or Barca fans or Madrid fans, and I want my guy in the team. But when Spain lifted that trophy, do you think any Spaniard cared? No.
Terry, more than half that team was Barca. You think they didn't celebrate in Madrid? I actually wanted to give a good example, and I was pretty young when I watched that World Cup. Go back and watch Italy in 2006. Their front line was stacked. Del Piero, Totti, what's his name? Inzaghi. I forgot who else. I think was it Luca Toni, or what's the other guy? I forgot the guy's name. He used to celebrate with this celebrate. And was it Luca Toni? It might have been Luca Toni. When you look at that World Cup, go back and watch the goals, Terry. I recommend this to anyone. You'll see that everyone had like 1 or 2 goals. Like, I think Inzaghi only had like 1 or 2 goals in the group stage, and that was it. Didn't really play as much. I think Totti had like 1 penalty goal. Del Piero scored like 2 goals. One of them was against Germany in the semifinal. They all played limited roles, but at the end of the day, they won the whole thing. No one really looked at that front line. I was like, yeah, Del Piero carried, Totti carried, Inzaghi carried, Toni carried. No one. You go back and look at them. Everyone actually played a role in that story. Everyone had just one chapter. And I feel like this is what some of the England fans don't accept or understand. You can have one game where like Saka gets you through like one team. Like, yeah, he scores a brace or whatever. But then it doesn't mean anything if he doesn't do anything for the rest of the tournament. Because I would expect another game where like, yeah, today Foden turned up. Today Kane turned up. Today, I don't know, Bellingham turned up. This is what is meant to be about a squad in an international tournament. Sometimes you have to play the opposition anyways by their strength. So you change how you play, because I don't expect England to line up against Slovakia in 2 days the same way they'll line up if they qualify and they play, let's say, the Netherlands, because they both have different qualities. This whole notion that all these players must play and they could not bench anyone, it just makes no sense to me. Because if you play France, I expect what's his name, Kyle Walker, to play. He's the first person on the pitch. But if you play Slovakia, I expect Trent to be the first player on the pitch. But I don't think people comprehend that, because they think everyone needs to play and not lose this spot.
England fans have got to go back and just look at 1966. Jeff Hurst wasn't even playing in the group stages. Jimmy Greaves was considered the greatest striker in the world at that particular moment in time. Was on the bench for the final as an example. And I understand. Do you know what's really crazy? Like, there's always been tribalism in football. And to a degree, it's great for the game that there is rivalry. But tribalism became toxic in the late 70s and in the 80s through hooliganism. And it's kind of not gone away. I mean, I know there's still some hooliganism that goes on, but it isn't as widespread as it used to be. But it seems to have, it's almost like the banter era of football is like the new version of hooliganism. It's almost, I don't care how bad it impacts my team. Because some people do it to their own team. Some people, it's like, I'm going to try and sabotage my own team with nonsense. It's almost, it's sick. It's absolutely crazy. There was no way in 1966, Man City fans and Liverpool fans wanted Bobby Charlton to have stinkers for England. There was no way that Spurs fans, who loved Jimmy Greaves at the time, by the way, wanted Sir Geoff Hurst to not get a hat-trick in the final because he was West Ham. That level of tribalism is an absolute abomination. I want Man United to win. I want my players to be the best. But when they put on an England jersey, they're English. They're representing our nation. Get behind them. Drop your... And I know what people want. They want Saka, or they want Mainoo, or they want Kane, or they want Gordon to be the star and the winner. So it's like a badge of honor for their club. No, it's a badge of honor for England. Your club has nothing to do with it. And that element needs to be dropped. So no, I totally agree. I totally agree. And by the way, if you don't support England, if you're not English, I kind of get you backing your player. I get it. But it's the English fans doing it. Why?
I was upset when it was told that Mainoo was going to start. I was so upset. I was like, when he came on halftime, I didn't want him to play. I was doing a watch. I was like, fuck. Because now I actually got to support Mainoo. I wanted him on the bench because I don't want to support England. I was like, if he comes on, he makes him good. I don't want him to come on. So I was like, no, stay on the bench. So I'm actually the opposite. I don't want none of the United players to play. Put him on the bench so he doesn't get the blame.
But it's good. But it's good for. Obviously, as a young player, it's good for his development. You know what I mean? I think it's a benefit.
Under Southgate, there's no development under Southgate.
Oh yeah, fair.
His experience, I'll tell you this, he'll get international experience, which is good because he's 18 and he's playing on the biggest stage of football. Other than that, I don't want to see him. I know the quality that he brings. I'd rather people think that he stinks, like they said. Like, I still have people that come to my channel like, yeah, Mainoo's overrated. I'm like, yep, he is overrated. Keep him on the bench. I have no problem. You're right.
It's funny because when I was saying that Mainoo had to come on, I'm not even going to mention the clubs because it'll trigger people, but the usual suspects just slagging him off. He ain't this, he ain't that, he ain't the other. And I'm sitting there going, you know he is. What? I'm not even saying he's a finished article, but he's what we needed, or partly what we needed. But you're just so worried that if he comes in and we look better, it's going to be a notch on the bedpost for Man United. And your hatred of Man United is getting in your way of being objective on this particular subject. It's crazy to me. Viewers, hit the like button for us here and done so already, and subscribe. I want to get your boys and your views and your opinions on the last 16 games. Obviously, kick off tomorrow. I want to get your predictions for these games. We're going to go through them now. First one, Switzerland versus Italy. What are you saying, Lawless?
It's got the potential to be a banana skin for Italy, but I don't think it will. I think Italy go through. It's one of them. I hope we see some big upsets in this round, and if we're going to see any, it'll probably be England on the receiving end, which we'll get to. But yeah, man, I'm gonna go Italy. Well, would you want out who's going to win, or do you want some score prediction?
Yeah, you can just score predictions or who's going to win either way.
2-1 Italy. Let's go then.
What are you saying, Staffy? Switzerland have been good so far. Do you think the Italians will have that knockout pedigree over them?
Yeah, their pedigree can play a part. You can never rule out Italy, but I want to go for the underdogs anyways, because I'm not European, so I don't have any dog in any fight. But Switzerland do deserve some people to think that they can win. They've been playing good, and I think they'll be a little bit too quick and too physical for Italy. So I'm gonna go for a 2-1 Switzerland, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes either way. It could be a 2-1 either way, but I'm gonna go for Switzerland.
I'm going 2-2 in normal time, a draw. Switzerland on penalties. That's why I think Switzerland will knock the Italians out. 8 p.m. kickoff tomorrow. The Germans versus Denmark. What are you saying, Lawless?
I think that's a cut and dry German win. I don't think Denmark have a chance. You know, obviously home soil, but yeah, Germany. I think they've looked good. You know, they're I think they're a brilliant team, and like on their home soil, I can't see them going out to no Denmark. Like, I think it's going to be 3-1 Germany.
Stuff.
You know, some are still saying
If you do it, I'm kicking you off the show tonight. I know you're gonna do, bro.
Some are still saying that Erasmus is waiting for chances to be created for him. So I will go for a German win, and it's probably gonna be I'll copy Lawless on this one. I'll say 3-1. Why not?
But this is the one I've selected as my coupon buster. I'm going 1-0 Denmark.
Ooh.
I'm going 1-0. It's just.
Waiting to score the winner.
I'm not getting that far. I mean, that would be amazing because then I could rub it in Staffy's face. Literally, that's the first thing I'll do is be on the phone.
That's not gonna undo all the stinkers he's had so far. What are you talking about?
He hasn't played that badly. I think for me, I think it could be one of those games where Germany dominate. Germany have the majority of the chances, don't score. 60th minute, scrappy goal by the Danes, and then they hang on. Although you would say that Switzerland is a coupon buster, I actually think Switzerland are better than Italy right now, where they don't have the knockout pedigree they do. This is the one in this round where I think, there's going to be a shock. But viewers, give us your thoughts and feelings.
But you do know they got Vestergaard in that back line.
I know, but
Musiala,
I know.
Hurts.
I know. I'm just throwing it out there. It's a coupon buster.
Whoever plays on Vestergaard is scoring a goal.
England versus Slovakia, Lawless. What's your prediction?
Mate.
Yeah, give us your prediction.
My prediction, geez, I'm looking forward to this one. I tell you now, listen, I want to see at least just a better performance, seriously, because the last 3 games have put me to sleep. But this one is going to be tough. This is going to be very tough. I think it's going to make harder work of it. Maybe Foden sort of having to leave for the birth of his child and Southgate being forced to switch things up could be a positive. But I think it's going to be same old England. I think it's going to be 1-1. England go through on penalties. And we sit there, we're, all fuming, but people are like, oh, well, we're through. Why can you come complaining? It's going to be that one. Hopefully, it's like a 3-4-0, dominant performance. But, yeah, I'm not confident. I think it's 1-1 and through on penalties, man. It's going to be another painful watch.
I will predict an England loss.
I knew it. It's so obvious, man. You're so predictable. Your predictions are predictable.
Where does your hatred for the English come from, Staffy?
They tell me every day to stick to basketball and shit. What do you think I'm gonna do? Every day I'm gonna dunk on their country.
So
how do you know it's English? It could have been Europeans. It could be French.
My number one demographic, first of all, on my channel is UK. Secondly, it's hard to not think.
Hang on a minute. So let me get it straight. So the number one channel of people that tune in and watch you and help you grow is England, the UK, and they're the one nation you hate on.
That's interesting.
First of all, wait, hold on. The number one demographic is because they're mainly United fans. So we are United fans. But most of them, by the way, hate on England with me. When I tweet, there's a few Englishmen tweeting with me. In my Twitter.
So let me rephrase it again. So you're hating on an entire nation because a small group of minority people from that group.
Of course. You do know I did a hate along for the USA yesterday.
So yeah, I mean you live in the US. Hating on your own country is weird.
Yeah, bro, I'm doing a hate along for everyone.
Strange
man.
man.
I don't do a hate along for
hate along for Man United, hate along for USA.
No, I don't do a hate along for United. I never do a hate along for United. I only support United and Egypt.
That's hate alongs. Don't lie. Your watch alongs are hate alongs.
Not really. I've never.
Staffy's logic in life is if there's a small minority from a group of people that annoy you, you can hate the entire group.
It's fun to hate on them today. Do you not see how rattled they got? Like if England win, I'd be happy for you. I'd be happy for Lawless. I'd be happy for my friends. I don't want to hate on England because of you guys, because I feel bad. I'm like, you guys are my guys. But everyone else, like, it's just fun to hate on. I like to. Here's what people got fucked up when it comes to me. The more I get hate, the more I kind of thrive. Like if the more they tell me to stick to basketball, the more I will do like content to just hate on England.
Yeah.
Like I won't stop. So
it's like throwing water on a gremlin.
I'm just gonna keep going back at them. So I
Did
just
you-
want
did you
England.
like
in terms of-
Are you too young for the Gremlin reference, Staffy? Are you
I
too
didn't
young?
get it. I didn't get it, but I kind of understand what you're trying to say.
You never seen the film Gremlins?
I probably didn't see it.
You
I'm
need to
not
go
a-
watch it. It's a really good film. Really good film.
I'm not a film
Moving
guy.
on from that, I'm going to go with England. I'm going to go with England winning 2-0. Not a great performance, but I think we'll win. I think we'll beat them. Just. Spain, Georgia. Georgia, for me, pound for pound, have been my favorite team at this tournament. But up against the Spaniards, Lawless, what you saying, bro?
This is where I'm having my wild card. This is where I'm going for the upset. This is where I'm going for the story coming out. Georgia, going against the odds, beating Spain 2-1. And having that fairy tale, and we have to have one every tournament. And seeing something like Georgia, I just feel it. I can't sit there and break down all the tactics and formations of why they're going to beat them, because there's no logic or rhyme or reason for it. It's just the magic of the tournament. That's what I think. So I'm going to go 2-1 Georgia.
Steph?
Against Spain?
Spain, yeah.
Lawless, what the hell? You just said Georgia's gonna beat Spain?
Yeah. Yes. Listen,
No,
we've seen these type of results before. Let's not forget England got knocked out twice.
Of course. But, no. And this anything can happen, but I think Spain has been the most impressive team in the tournament so far.
Yeah.
And listen, fair enough. I mean, Georgia did their thing. They qualified. It kind of helped that they played Portugal on the last day when they benched everyone, except for Ronaldo, who should have been the first person benched. But it's probably gonna be an easy game for Spain, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
my
heart wants Georgia to win. Sorry, I cut in there, Staffy. My heart wants Georgia to win. My head says 3-0 Spain, but we'll see. This should be a quick one. France, Belgium.
Yeah, it's got
France.
win.
Belgium are the only team I'm completely writing off in this round.
They're gonna ragdoll Belgium. That's what's gonna happen. They're gonna ragdoll.
Remember, like every tournament when people used to just predict them to win it for no real rhyme or reason, just because they was the hipster team and they had some good players. It was Belgium are winning this year, and they never won anything.
Yeah. Belgium
got booed off the pitch last game, no?
Yeah, they did. Portugal, Slovenia.
Yeah, Portugal. That's
Portugal. Yeah, I think Portugal going through that game. Tuesday's games are more fun. Romania, Netherlands.
It's a good game. I'm gonna go for the Netherlands, but I wouldn't be surprised if Romania puts up a fight.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for Romania. I think Netherlands, they end up choking so much on the big stage, and it's been a massive disappointment from what they were like back in the day, like early 90s and that. This ain't. I can see this being a Romania win. I'm not saying Romania are the favorites, but yeah.
You know what, Lawless, I would love to see your bracket right now on the screen, because I think you went for every underdog so far. You have Georgia, you have
England.
That's the biggest underdog that you went for.
Austria, Turkey.
Yeah, Diana go.
That's
Turkey.
the best game.
Yeah,
that is the best game.
I think it'll be a good game, and Nautovic would do his thing. But yeah, Turkey got some good players, man. I think Turkey edge him in terms of quality. I think Turkey will go through on that one. I think it'll be like 2-0 Turkey.
Listen, my gaffer, okay? Ralph Rangnick. We're going all the way on that side of the bracket. I'm going for an Austria win. It's probably going to be 2-0 Austria. You know, they have the second most goals in the tournament, I think, after Germany? Yeah, after Germany. They've actually been doing very well. They've played some of the best football. So this is probably going to be the best game. And I'm just going to say Austria just a little too good for...
This is annoying for me, this game. I want both of them to go through because I've liked them both at this tournament. There's that sort of United connection with Ragnick and Sabitzer. I've got a lot of friends that are Turkish, so I would like Turkey to go through. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. Turkey on penalties is what I'm going to go with on that one. Viewers, we'd love to get your thoughts, love to get your feelings on that. Look, I want to thank everyone who's tuned into the show today. We're back tomorrow, of course, with a bit of content in the morning and then the match reactions for the next 4 days. For those games, actually, I'll be out in Germany. So I leave for Germany in the morning of those games doing our road trip.
When are you going?
Tuesday morning, first thing, we're driving there. Okay. So, Yeah, I've got a road trip coming up, which, yeah, I'm excited about. I'm also a bit nervous about it because I've got to pack the whole kit up to stream with and drive it to Germany.
How long of a drive is it?
6 hours. That's not too bad. So we're going to leave at sort of 6 a.m. in the morning.
England to Germany is a 6-hour drive.
Well, it depends where in Germany you're going. There are parts where we're staying. Driving to another part of Germany, like Munich, is further away than my house is from where in Germany's that big. So where we're staying, my house is closer to than Munich is to that place.
That's roughly how long it takes to get from London to Newcastle. That's mad.
Yeah. It's not that bad actually. So yeah, Eurostar, boom, drive. We're gonna go a little bit in France. We're gonna stop off and have a bit of lunch in Belgium, in Antwerp, and then drive through. Because where we're staying is fairly near the border of Belgium and stuff like that. So
Nice.
yeah, should be fun.
That should be exciting, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Look, boys, always a pleasure to sit and speak football with the two of you gentlemen. Viewers, thank you very much indeed. Make sure you join our Transfer group chat. All of our notifications, all our shows go in there so you don't miss us when we're live. Scan the QR code to get that done. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll be seeing you and the lit very, very soon. Peace.